Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm the technical director here at RW Supply and Design, and today I want to talk about replacing a board in the middle of a floating laminate floor. So the tools that I have on hand to do a board repair like this are going to be a vacuum to clean up with, a mallet along with a tapping block, some blue tape, a putty knife or a pry bar to help pry the old board out and then clean up if I need to. Utility knife, a rag to clean up with, some floating floor tongue and groove glue, plus some super glue, which super glue is optional. Some filler in case I need to fill any gaps. And then the saw that I'm going to use to cut the current plank out with. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the material you're going to replace the board with is a match for the floor that you have. I'm going to confirm this is the board I'm going to replace, and then I'll draw 2 diagonal lines from corner to corner. You can tape off around the perimeter of the board with blue tape. Generally, it's a good idea just to ensure you don't get glue on the adjacent planks or damage the adjacent planks. Next, I'm going to adjust my saw to make sure I'm cutting at the right depth. This is pretty important because you don't want to cut down through the underlayment past the plank if you can avoid it. If your product has a pad on the back of it, you can cut down to the pad and then score through that line with a razor blade. Now I'm going to use a pry bar or a putty knife to pry up each of the 4 sides, making sure I angle them up before I pull them out so I don't damage the locking mechanism on any of the 4 sides. So when you do this, if you pry them up, your corners should break just naturally. I want to come up and out, and I'm going to do that on opposing sides first. Doesn't matter really if you do the long or the short side. Once I have those out, I'll be able to disengage all 4 sides. I'm going to go through and clean up any debris and then also use my vacuum to clean up any dust in the hole or in the locking mechanisms. One thing you can do that's optional but I find is best practice, depending on how big the room is, if you can separate the planks in your row to fit the new planks without modifying the end joints, it makes for a better, cleaner replacement. And to do that, I have a pull bar that I usually put on one wall and then punch the floor down. I put the pull bar in first so that I don't lose my gap and make it even harder to pull this row back into the new plank. So now we're going to have to modify our new board to fit into the hole that we made. In order to do that, we want to preserve the part of the plank that goes under on the locking mechanism, and we're going to shave off the small little bit of locking mechanism that goes over. We might have to modify the ends depending on whether we were able to push apart the planks on the ends of the hole that we made. If we're able to push those apart, we should be able to slip the new plank in without modification. If we're unable to push those apart, we're going to have to shave off the end locking mechanism until it's just flush with the board face. The key is I don't want to cut into the face of the plank, and I don't want to cut above the watertight portion of the locking mechanism. Now that I've gotten done modifying the locking mechanism on the long seam of my board, I'm ready to dry fit it in place. I'm going to angle the piece in with the underside of the locking mechanism, carefully going under the board that's in place, and then I'm going to be able to push hopefully straight down until the board is flush. So now that I can see that that will fit in place, I need to carefully take it out. I can do that with the side seam here. So the last step, I'm going to take some floating floor tongue and groove glue, and I'm going to put that on the underside adjacent piece for the part of the board that drops straight down. You can put some intermittent spots of some super glue that'll set up a little bit quicker. Super glue is not going to be strong enough to hold the board, so I definitely want to use floating floor glue. However, it will allow me to press the board down, hold it for about 30 seconds, and then leave that without putting weights on the board. So this plank, we'll go ahead and seat it in. And now is the time, if you're going to use super glue, put it on the spots that you left for the super glue. Put it there, put one at this end, also put one at this end. There. With the super glue, you have to work pretty quickly. You also have to hold the plank in place. If you're working on multiple planks at the same time, if you don't have super glue, or you just can't hold all of the plank edge down at any one time, you can put weights along that edge until the glue is cured. I'm going to pull the tape around the edge and make sure that I have a tight seam. If I don't have a tight seam, or if I have a slight gap anywhere, I'm going to take some matching filler and I'm going to put it in that gap and then wipe off the excess just to make sure I maintain the water tightness of my floor. So there you go. That's how you replace a single board in the middle of a floating laminate floor that's got a locking mechanism. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put those below in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.